Welcome back to the SCARTS Shootout, live on Sliders TV. There's not many laps left and Lance is leading. Meanwhile, we're going to have a battle for the second position. Late in this race, Charter and Burnout, the two Americans in the field, are going to go head to head to take the second place. And obviously it doesn't matter for Burnout, because Burnout will start from the pole. But it's just a matter of pride. Charter, of course, won last year. And also, if there's a late race caution, there could be a green-white checker, and then that position will be very important.
Yeah, the car, whoever's in second if the caution comes out, will be on the front row with Lance if no one pits from the lead of the field.
Yeah, of course, we're getting to the crucial stage now then. If there's a caution within the next sort of lap, then we'll have a green-white checker, but after that, then a caution will end the race. Because the rule is, if there's not enough laps left to pit and run 2 laps, then the race ends if there's a caution at the end. Meanwhile, Shimek giving way to Lance, not holding him up. And I think if Lance can get back around now, then he's safe from the worries of a late race caution. And he has got back around, and there would not be enough laps now to run a green-white checker. So this battle now really matters.
Unless Lance makes a really big mistake. Oh wait, hold on, we've got Jono, he's gone off here, he's slowed.
Jono is slowed and the caution is out! The caution is out and the race will be over now. Popo goes straight into him, and Jono's off the track, but indeed, and quite rightly, the caution came out, the track was blocked, and that means the race is over, and Lance, as long as he can complete one more lap, Lance would have won the SCARTS Shootout. There's Popo unlapping himself, because when the caution comes out, the field is frozen, and Popo was ahead of Lance before the caution, although really, he should pace behind the safety car until the safety car waves him past, not just take it willy-nilly, but never mind.
Yeah, there was a bit of confusion there because Popo did unfortunately lose his lap as Jono was parked in the middle of the track there. Yeah,
but there is a clause in the rulebook about unavoidable contact, and that's unavoidable there. It's not. I mean, it's not really at all your fault. You know, Jono obviously having problems, perhaps a disconnect, perhaps a issue with the car, something happened to him, and that's ended the race prematurely, unfortunately, and stopped now, it would seem, perhaps just making sure the order's all correct before we pace over the line.
I think Lance was about 5 seconds in the lead there, so he was most likely going to win the race anyway, but we did kind of get robbed of a final lap second place battle, perhaps.
Yeah, a bit of a shame there, but you know, never mind, these things happen, and the race is over as long as Lance can now make it back without problems. Of course, nothing short of a disconnect could stop Lance from winning the race now, and indeed he just wants to get across the line, and Lance has won the 2012 SCARTS Shootout.
I'm not sure what Popovic was doing there at the end of the race. He passed like half the field, even though he just got his lap back, and really he was definitely out of position.
Definitely out of position there, and line. There's a message from race control, pacing violations, quite clear I thought. Jono seems to have got his car back going now. Bit late, I'm afraid, but never mind. At least he'll complete the well, not quite the scheduled distance because he obviously lost a lap there, being stopped.
He's gone back into the wall. Some definite problems going on here.
Yeah, I mean that's a shame because he was on for a midfield sort of run, not brilliant for the guy who won the pre-season Thunder Test race, but he was on for a reasonable run, and that's a bit of a shame really. A bit, you know, it can happen to anybody. You win some that way, and sometimes you lose some that way. And today, Jono lost one that way. And well, that was a pretty interesting start to the 2012 season. Lance will now start on the front row alongside Burnout in the Daytona 500.
Yeah,
just where he started. So you know, for SCARTS it wasn't particularly the most interesting race. Not many cautions. I mean, usually in SCARTS we get plenty of those cautions. Last year it was a caution fest. But I think this year there's a lot less cautions called, perhaps because of the safety car. And Lance now celebrating in the infield, doing some burnouts. And a good win to start the 2012 season for him. And it's good momentum, no points obviously, but it's just a good feeling when you can win a big event like the SCARTS Shootout.
He did pretty much... Go on, Johnny.
Yeah, it'll give him some confidence going into the actual 500 as well, maybe be able to keep his driving lines. Obviously they work and they're pretty fast, so we'll see what he can do in the 500.
Into victory lane for the celebrations.
Yep, he pretty much dominated that race there. He led most laps. He only had a bit of trouble when he got into the wall early in the race and lost his position to burnout, but he soon regained the lead.
Of course, he was your stud from earlier, was he not, Sam?
Yes, he was. So I'm quite proud of my picks there.
Yeah, I picked Mr. Drills, and that didn't quite work out for me. 6th place. And of course, Jono, you picked Burnout, so not so good for you. So the results then. Lands takes a fantastic win in the number 30. Of course, last year running the number 46, and his first race in the number 30 car, and already a win. Fantastic momentum for the Daytona 500 next week. He'll start on the front row. And Charter will start third. The winner of the SCARTS Shootout last year. Of course, last year he won the SCARTS Shootout, but because of the blocking manoeuvre he did to win it, he actually started at the back for the Daytona 500 as a penalty. But this year, no such problems, and very fair and a good solid run to the second place. Burnout perhaps robbed of a chance to beat him because of that late race caution involving Jono, but Burnout will still start on the pole for the Daytona 500. And Sam, an excellent run to the 4th place, starting 7th on the grid, and a really solid run from him. Just being in the right place at the right time, staying out the longest of any of the cars. I think that was really crucial for him for his pit stop strategy.
Next up in 5th place is the Toyota of Umper in this Chevrolet-dominated field. Umper, who was my one to watch before the race, had a very good race here. He was holding strong in 5th before the caution came out, and he was only about a second behind Sam. So, he could have maybe challenged him for 4th place, and he will line up in 5th for the Daytona 500. In 6th place is Drills in the number 88. He had a good race going, but a mistake getting onto pit road. He did lose a bit of time there and dropped back behind Umper and Jono at one point. The 18 car of Deluxe, the second Toyota in the field, finishes in 7th place. He ran a quite eventful race, batting off and throughout with Popovic and Shemek.
Yeah, he was my dud, and I think I was probably right on that one. Perhaps running out of fuel there at Daytona last year, I think it cost him, and I think he just wasn't in the mood today. Well, just didn't have the mojo he needed to race around Daytona.
Down in 8th position then is Popovic, who was my dud of the week, so good little prediction from me there. He started in 3rd position and dropped 5 positions down to finish in 8th, so probably not the best of races as him. 9th position is Shemek. He probably expected a bit better from himself there, starting in 6th, losing 3 positions, and down in 10th position then is Jono, who we saw to have that problem, which actually turned out to be a battery problem on his car, so probably not too happy about that, but he'll definitely be hoping for better in the 500.
Yeah, you gotta think. It wasn't the most typical of a SCARTS race. I mean, 28 minutes, 7 lead changes, and only 2 cautions for 6 laps. Of course, that's not including the competition caution, which didn't count as part of the race, really. And you can see if this had been a real race, then Charter, Burnout, and Lands would have all got a bonus point, and Lands would have got 2 because you get a bonus point also this year for leading the most laps and leading 10% of the race. Popo also led 4 laps, and Sam led 2 laps there before his pit stop.
Yeah, I think the most surprising part of the race for me was the lack of cautions, really. In recent years, it's pretty much been caution after caution in this series, especially at a track like Daytona. But today, there was a couple of borderline cautions that could have come out, but really, overall, it was pretty clean racing with, I think, the right amount of cautions for a race there.
Yeah, I mean, what it was usually at Daytona, people push that it's cautions breed cautions, because when there's a caution, the pack is all bunched up and there's more crashes and there's caution after caution after caution. But also you got to remember the safety car. It started last year in the Rising Star Series with Shy Guy driving it there, and then by the end of the year he retired from the series and now he drives the safety car on a regular basis in both the Cup and the Rising Star Series. So that means that you can't get any cautions that we, intentional or through single players' mistakes, because cautions are only to be called if there's a blockage on the track or if there's a big enough crash that means that one really needs to be called to make sure the field is nobody's really being costed too much from a crash. It's not their fault. Nobody's sort of crashing into a stopped car and losing loads of time. And I think the cautions are really good for that. I think it makes it more realistic. I think it improves the series, but as long as it's used in moderation, I think it was pretty good today. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the starting lineup then for the 6th annual SCARTS Daytona 500. Burnout will start from the front row alongside Lance. Charter will start alongside Sam, Umper and Drills, Deluxe and Popo, Shemek and Jono, and then the key thing, the rest of the field will be set by a warm-up session just before the Daytona 500, because obviously not everybody that raced today, that won't be the only people who race the Daytona 500. There'll be more people who want to come in to race the biggest race in SCARTS, which will be on Siders TV in the coming weeks. But before that, we've got the F1 Speed League, highlights of the Valencian Grand Prix coming up in the next few days, and the big one, the Monaco Grand Prix, will be broadcast fully on Siders TV. It'll be a really exciting event, and followed by that, the Daytona 500. What a week we've got coming up in Turbo Siders Motorsports.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a good load of racing. And of course, the SCART series, the Full Throttle Cup, which will be broadcast every single race on Sliders TV, is going to be a massive, massive series this year. I think we're going to see a lot of new drivers, a lot more competition. What a big thing is pack racing. Pack racing is going to be a lot more exciting this year. So it's definitely going to be a great series to watch on Sliders TV.
Yeah, I mean, we got the Daytona 500 is just going to be fantastic. I'm sure about it. I think we should probably get a few more cautions in the Daytona 500 simply because it's the Daytona 500. It's the biggest race in SCARTS. It's the start of the year. People want momentum. People want to lead the points from the start. And I think that's why we should see a lot of players pushing much harder on the Daytona 500, and that inevitably leads to crashes. And so I think we should see a much more bunched up race, a lot more side-by-side racing, although there was some pretty good racing today, you have to say. This 3 wide isn't too bad.
Yeah, and the good drills between two drivers, that is really exciting to watch. Drivers swapping lanes, going underneath each other, trying to cut in front to, just gain that little bit more of momentum to keep the driver behind them without doing it illegally, which is key.
Yeah, I mean, I love the side-by-side battles, but what really gets me about restrictor plate tracks like this, where you can just hold the throttle flat out, is the pack racing. You've got to try and which lane's best here. Can I cut him off and get a bump draft? That sort of thing. That's what I really love. But anyway, we're nearly out of time, so thank you very, very much for watching the SCARTS Shootout on Sliders TV. It's the first race ever to be broadcast twice on Sliders TV, so that's a big occasion for us. A pretty different race to what we saw last year, with Charter taking that win on a green-white checker. But still a fantastic race, and I really look forward to the Daytona 500 and of course the rest of the SCARTS year on Sliders TV. So it's goodbye from me, James Tucker.
It's goodbye from me, Sam Jones.
Goodbye from me, Jonathan Holmes.
Good night.